Guys, I like Sex Education season 3, and I just like the Netflix show in general. Let me give context because I haven't reviewed season 1 and 2 on the channel. I saw the first season a while back during lockdown, was casual viewing, found it funny, liked some of the characters, some decent writing, and then I watched season 2 as well, binged it, and now season three's out. It wasn't something I was actively expecting, or I just found out through a poster. Long story short, guys, like I said, love the characters, love the I love the colors. There's something about the color grading in this show. It feels like I'm watching something that's meant to be from the 70s but is modern, if that makes sense. Like the 70s or the 80s. Maybe it's because I'm so used to watching, ironically, fantasy films and action films with like this dull coloring. Whereas this is like I'm so aware of the color, especially in the first two seasons. Season three is for specific reasons that I don't want to spoil. That I'm not noticing that aspect of the show as much. But I like that. And what I want to speak about is that obviously the show is called Sex Education, talks a lot about sexuality and so on. But what made me want to do this review is talking more about how through certain character arcs it's giving me kind of like relatable life lessons about self acceptance, I guess, is the simplest way to put it. So I'll give one example. Um Eric, right? In the show. If people don't know, Eric is he's a character in the show, prominent character. Gay, young gay man. Um and his story more specifically, like his confidence and how that's grown and how you can tell he's just comfortable with who he is. There's something he says, a quote he says near the end of the season that I love. Spoil? Okay, yeah, I won't give the context, but he says that I feel like I'm ready to fly, whereas you're just starting to walk. What he's getting at is that he's at a point in his life where he just wants to do whatever, but there's still some things, some people kind of holding him back, understandably. Uh, if obviously I don't relate for obvious reasons, I'm not gay, but I reckon that that feeling of like, especially coming from an immigrant family, of still trying to find yourself when you're young is real. And it occurred to me through him mostly and a couple other characters about that kind of life lesson and why it's important to like moving out, um all sorts of stuff, like doing things, realizing that yes, you're not your parents' kids. Oh, sorry, you are your parents' kids, but you're not exactly like them. It's a different generation. You do what you do, and yeah, I value that through a character like him. I respect that a lot. That it makes by comparison things that I worry about seem so little because he's dealt with stuff like homophobia and all that stuff. Next, Amy. If people don't know who I'm talking about, I just give like a brief gist. Something traumatic happens to Amy, not in this recent third season, but in a past season, and it obviously changes the dynamic with her. She was already going through a bit of a change from the first season, but specifically in the second season, from that point on is like a point of no return. And more or less she comes to some of the facts in this season that she's agreeable to a fault. She she doesn't like confrontation. I'm exactly the same way. That without getting into it, there are things in my personal life, family, so on. I'm realizing the need as I get older to be firm. I think your default, especially if you're someone who likes to be agreeable, is to never hurt or offend. And that's a problem because obviously the world don't care about always being nice to you. But yeah, understandably, you do want to, especially with people close to you, you do want to be a nice person, right? So that's something I've learned watching her and how much of a relatable problem that is. I just learning not to be that person, not to default. So I admire that about her. But obviously, again, similar to Eric and his bigger problems that make mine seem small, her problems and the reason why she's come to terms with the fact that she can be a bit too agreeable and she has to change that, start from something so much bigger than anything I've dealt with. And again, it makes you realize my problems are smaller than hers, and I need to practice that growth, and that self-acceptance with my flaws and build from that. That's another lesson from this season and this show. And then some other characters, the character of Adam, his character arc, I was thinking about this, is so big because the reason I like him and why I relate to him in a sense too, in a way, is because he's a character who it's very easy to dismiss him as, oh, he's just a dimwit, he's a bit of a div, you know. I felt that way about myself, that what do I truly have to give to people of that's of value. But you can tell he really wants to learn more. Same way, part of why I started this channel. I want to learn. This is the theme of my channel, and why I do videos like this. It's not necessarily just like for films, but I want to learn about storytelling, why it makes me feel the way it does. He's a great example of someone who he just wants to learn and grow and be more than what he's perceived to be. And he's also him and various other characters F up a lot. I'll get to another character who does that. They're not always likable. I'm not always likable. I don't always do good things. I'm still learning that to have values and principles, they have to be things and character traits that you have in the worst of times, when there's pressure on you, when people put pressure on you, when certain things put pressure on you, as opposed to times where things are good, because that's when you're really tested in your values and your principles. Otherwise, to quote someone I've been following, they're just like really nice ideas you have. That's the difference between having certain ideas and values. I see that in Adam's character. Adam's trying to build himself. It's character growth. That's all it is. And yeah, I admire that a lot, and I relate to that self acceptance, that need to grow. And then Otis is another one. I spoke about people who Otis. I noticed in this season, he likes to from since season one, his role has always been like a someone who does like to analyze people. But you can tell that he cares, but he struggles with his personal relationships, with building basic empathy for people. Me again. Um, the interesting thing that unifies all these characters in this show for me, all the ones I find interesting, is that I feel like I know them, but I've never met them. And that's a sign of a good show where it's beyond, it'll be easy from the outside looking in to this. Oh, it's just about some horny kids in school, and like and some people dismiss it as woke and all this stuff. But I do think there's a lot more. And this a character like Otis and these other characters through him making a lot of mistakes with his personal relationships. And there were times in this season with Otis where he would do something like, oh no. But part of the reason I went, oh no, is because I've been in situations where I needed to show clear empathy. Like I found out something happened. I remember being younger. Um, my my grandma passed away. Someone told me, one of my cousins, and she accused me of like not showing sadness because I was just ill. I was just like I had a blank face, but it wasn't because I didn't care. It was just because I've always struggled in very serious moments. But then there are other times when it's the opposite, where there's something little and it will get to me. So it is again, all these characters, what they have in common is that self acceptance of who they are and the person they're trying to be. Character and that character growth, that is like a natural thing as you mature and you get older. Something I'm trying to learn myself in my personal life, right? All in all, that's basically my thoughts on the show. And season 3 I like probably the most because it's not just about the sex education, which is educational as heck, by the way. And that's a great aspect of the show. And that blends into what I was saying about self acceptance. Was also just about these characters as individuals. That's all you want. That's I think storytelling should not necessarily show you a mirror of who you are, but kind of show you this that painting and allow you to interpret it. When it's done well, allow you to interpret it. However, as long as it's meaningful, right? Those are my thoughts on the show. Guys, tell me down below. Have you seen the show? What do you think? If you haven't seen it, would you watch it based on my thoughts? Other than that, guys, yeah, just press the like button if you like this. Share it with all your friends. Lastly, don't forget to sub. Button's right there. Don't be shy. Other than that, guys, signing off. Salute.